Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Roofing Contractor's Best of Success podcast show. I'm RC Editor-in-Chief Art Eisner, and I'm really glad to be joined today by Octavio Vazquez with Owens Corning. Octavio, great to be here with you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us on.
Awesome. Well, you've been working very hard with Owens Corning over the last year or two on the Pantera Pros initiative. Tell us a little bit about what that is.
Yeah, absolutely. So I lead our Latino program, which is now known as Pantera Pros. So essentially, it's a Hispanic contractor community that we're building to give tools, resources, education, training, all these platforms in Spanish for our Hispanic contractors around the country, and making sure that they've got everything that they need to help grow their businesses.
Got it. So talk about a little bit how that started and what was the thought process from Owens Corning to really put this initiative in motion.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a long journey. I've been with Owens Corning for about 8 years now, and really since I began as an intern, this is something that we've been looking at and analyzing. It really started with kind of the market research to understand what's going on, but the idea was that we didn't have anything to help service these contractors who make up really a third or more of the actual contractor base, and depending on where you're at in the region, 90% or upwards of your labor force. So it was just a huge miss, not just on ourselves but on the industry, to be servicing a huge part of our workforce and such an important part of the industry. So we looked at that and we said, what can we do to help service these clients and to help them grow, because really it's going to help grow our businesses as well, right? And so it started as just kind of table stakes, like can we translate materials, can we get documents in Spanish? But that's really just entry level, this is kind of the bare minimum. Yeah. And so beyond that, it was looking at, okay, can we do events in Spanish, right? Can we do trainings at distribution branches? Can we host different events throughout the country? And it involved into, not to get ahead of ourselves, but kind of like a transcreation process. So not just looking at, okay, we're going to translate something that's already there for our Hispanic clients, but can we actually create something from the bottom up with these people in mind and make sure that they know they're an audience that we care about and that we want to invest in. And so there's been a lot of work that's gone into that, but that's the nutshell of the approach that we've taken.
Well, and you talked about building community as well. How are you able to do that by teaching these business practices, but also more about the roofing industry in general and how much of a kind of family atmosphere it is, right?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. It's a relationship business, right? We all know that. And so for us, it's kind of combining the educational piece with the fun aspect and having that relationship or that personal touch with the contractors. So for example, we'll do like a full day workshop with Pantera Pros. We'll bring in a couple of Hispanic trainers. We've got the best Hispanic training platform in the industry, and I can say that confidently because there's a lot of people who might be listening to this that are a part of that team that, we can give trainings on sales, finance, retail, insurance, whatever it is that the contractors are looking for in their language. And then after that, we'll do something fun. So we're big soccer fanatics, football fans, and so we'll take them out to a game, or we'll go out to a restaurant, or we'll do something fun with the clients, and that's something that we like to do to build that relationship, because at the end of the day, it's about that. And throughout those events, we've built this community where now, we're connected to people in all these different markets, and we've got different ways of hanging out and getting together. You actually came to our big get-together, the summit, and that's what it's really all about, is creating that community.
Latino culture is so broad and diverse. Does that ever become a challenge when you're trying to build a central community and you have people from so many different backgrounds and cultures?
Yeah, 100%. I just from my own personal experience, right? I'm from Argentina originally, okay. So even like the language, right? Is if I'm speaking Spanish and I'm working with my client here from somebody from Mexico or from Central America, or Kate Apunte on our team from Ecuador, even words that we use are different, accents are different, right? It's like hanging out with somebody from England is going to be very different than hanging out with someone from the South. And so what we have to really find to unify us isn't so much only the similarities of being Latino, but also valuing those differences. So if you have a different food in your culture or your country, or you have a different, type of music, it's embracing those things. So, maybe cumbia if you're in South America, or mariachi if you're in Central America, right? Or whatever that is. And we try to embrace all those different elements. So it's not so much about having like a unifying culture as it is bringing all those things together.
Right. So a big tent atmosphere, draw everyone in. Okay. I'm curious, what have you learned over the past year since you've really been able to implement some of these trainings and events?
Yeah, it's difficult to pinpoint one thing, and I was trying to think about that earlier, but I think it's for us, it's knowing that at the end of the day, the client, what they're looking for is us as a lever, or more as a consultant, and not so much as a salesperson, right, or a point of contact from manufacturer, because when they're growing their businesses, they're going to have different challenges depending on what market they're in or where they're at in their business. So for us, it's kind of being open-minded to say, I'm not coming to you with solutions, I'm coming to you with different offers and seeing if I can find your pain points and you can bring those to us, then we can be that bridge to help solve those problems. So I think for me, it was just changing that mentality a little bit, and especially with our Latino contractors, there wasn't always this kind of culture of networking and education. I think that's something that I've seen change a lot, right? We were, I think just as a culture, we're very competitive, and it was like, I want to keep this information and I want to grow and I want to be the best. And I've seen that change tremendously, just even at the IRE, for example, over the last few years, the communities that have popped up in distribution and other partners. So it's been really incredible to watch that shift.
Octavio, tell us a little bit about the marketplace and how much it's changed and is continuing to change.
Yeah, absolutely, and thanks for bringing that up. I think we were talking about the percentage of the contractor base and the workforce that this represents, but I really want to hit this point home because for any English-speaking folks, Americans that are out there, they're saying this isn't for me, it's not my community. I think really what I want to hit home is when you look at the GDP of the Hispanic community. Anybody that's been listening to me for a while has heard this stat a bunch of times, but if you take out the Latinos in the United States just as their own country, they would actually be the 5th largest country in terms of GDP in the world. So it's China, the United States, I believe it's Germany, the United Kingdom, and Latinos in the U.S. would actually be that 5th largest economy. So it's a huge amount of buying power. And for anybody that's listening to this, it's not just how are we helping that community, but also how are you leveraging this opportunity that's in your backyard, right? Do you have Spanish-speaking salespeople? Do you have the materials to service the homeowners, right? We're seeing 70% of homeownership growth going to this demographic over the next 20 years. So do you have those tools and resources that we're offering, not just for if you're a Hispanic contractor, but if you're a business owner in the United States, this is a revenue engine for you that we really want to make sure that you're empowered to service because it's going to, rising tides lift all boats. So I think that's a point that's really important to hit home, to know that maybe if you're listening to this and you're saying, it's not for me, it's not my community, it's a business opportunity that's there for everybody. And so that's really what's
These
important.
These will be homeowners you'll be selling to.
Exactly.
Soon enough. Right?
Exactly.
All right. So what are you looking forward to in 2026? Can you talk about what you have planned for Pantera Pros?
Yeah, absolutely. So last year we did over 40 events across the country with Pantera Pros. We want to do it bigger and better this year. So we're going to keep that trend going with the workshops, the lunch and learns, the summit. This will be our 2nd year of the summit. So we're going to be hosting in Orlando in August for anybody that's listening. We're going to pin down a date and bring in some of our biggest platinum and preferred Hispanic contractors all around the country. So I'd say that, the events portion is one piece of it. Obviously the World Cup is coming up. That's a huge deal for our community. So having some different activations around that and making sure that we can embrace all those different cultures, all those different countries. And we will be getting competitive then too. But I think that's something that we're looking forward to, is just those, continuing to grow that community. And our launch really was in 2024. So going into 2026, it's how do we keep doing what we're doing and building on that.
It sounds like a lot of fun, but obviously there is a very serious aspect, to all this. One of the things I learned at the summit was that, the contractor base is so young, and there's a lot to learn about doing roofing, the right way. Talk about the importance of the mission you're on.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, I've mentioned it, but the goal is to help grow these contractors' businesses, to help them reach, a level of professionalism in the industry that we want to set as kind of the new standard to really elevate the Latino contractor community. There's a broad diaspora there. There's people from all different walks of life. But what we've seen really, if you're looking at the contractor base, I mentioned it might be around a third. What's happening now is that 4 out of 5 LLCs that are starting now in construction are actually Hispanic-owned businesses. It's a lot of first or second generation people maybe that were born in the United States, or they've seen their parents go through a different challenge maybe where they were on the roof for 20, 30 years, and they're saying, I can do this a different way, right? I've got the tools now, I've got these communities, these resources in Spanish, I can start my own business, or I can grow my parents' business. So there's a lot of that, and that is a younger demographic. And then you've got the opposite end of the spectrum, where it's people that have been on that other side of the coin for a long time, and they're saying, maybe there's a different way I can scale, or I don't have to be in my business so much. And so really it's identifying those challenges that they have and making sure that we can solve those issues for them.
Great. Where can contractors find out more?
Yeah, absolutely. If they go to owenscorning.com, they'll find the Pantera Pros page, or just look up Owens Corning Pantera Pros, and there'll be a community there. It's free for them to sign up. They can see different video series that we've done, all those different tools and document library that I mentioned. So lots of information on there, and I'd love to connect with everyone individually and see what we can do.
Awesome. Octavio, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Be sure to click back to roofingcontractor.com and sign up for our free e-newsletters, including Tedros y Mas, our all-Spanish speaking content for roofing contractors. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time.